Hi, and welcome to On Art. I'm here on a crane in Delhi's Inland Container Depot, where all these containers are covered in street art. If you can make it to see the show, it's incredible and on until March 9th. But if you miss it, no worries, NDTV Prime has you covered. Just watch our new show, Color My City, which is on Wednesdays at 9:30 p.m. Tonight, artist Shilpa Gupta tells us the truth about life on the edges. We see a dance performance from Japanese dancer Yuko Harada, and photographer and performance artist Atish Saha tells us what it's like to embody different characters. All that and more, tonight on Art. Performance art is often seen as bizarre or it's misunderstood, but at its core, it's deeply human. Bangladeshi artist Atish Saha uses performance art to express in ways that other arts just can't do. Here, he shows us how. Performance art is radical, unusual, even uncomfortable sometimes. It's a form of art that dates back centuries, but has never quite been accepted the way that paintings and sculptures have. After all, here we see men and women embody a variety of characters. They reject narrative and force us to wait to understand the power of the process. In the case of 25-year-old Bangladeshi artist Atish Saha, it's a way to learn more about yourself and perhaps embody an alien clown in the process. Atish Saha began making art as a painter and afterward became a successful photographer and photojournalist. His coverage of Bangladesh's riots in 2013 earned him recognition worldwide. But the stress and limits of photojournalism soon began to wear on him, and Atish Saha began looking to new means of expression.
I was a photographer, so still I am. So it's like there was like certain boundaries where I was trying to provoke some thoughts and then trying to cross the limits and boundaries, and then I found the medium performance art, and there I could bring into in the art, in the space, I could bring into my soul, soul in a sense, my limits, and then I could come out from my limits.
We met Atish Saha after he put on a performance at Sunaparanta Center for the Arts in Panjim, Goa. The work was slow, then staccato, strange, and also calming. As part of his performance, he walked nearly 5 kilometers and, embodying an extraterrestrial clown, he covered a life cycle over the course of his 2-hour piece.
You don't know what interesting thing about performance art, you try to build one character and then it's end up being something else, you don't have the actual control of the whole situation. You thought about something, and then, but at the performance you feel oh, it's becoming something else. So there are some parts of you that you don't have the power to discover in your regular life, but in the performance those things comes out, and then you know yourself more. Performance art is it doesn't deal with the real time. So for outside of our space, the time, there's nothing called time. Time doesn't exist.
What makes up performance art is a surrender to emotion and a willingness to lay bare.
I don't think everybody has that. If everybody has those drive, everybody would be doing this, but everybody is not doing it. But at the same time, there are possibilities maybe everybody has it, but they have their control, and they control their insanity in a different way. Somebody will maybe eat lots of food and then control their insanity. Somebody will kill someone and control their insanity. To not rule, to cope up with the reality, how you deal with it.
But ultimately, performance art, like any art form, is an exploration of humanity, where aren't we all performing a little bit every day?
The familiar and unfamiliar, you make a progress of knowing yourself more. So it's like knowing yourself.
If that made you want to see a performance of your own, then now's the time. From flamenco in Jodhpur to drums in Delhi to famous composers in Mumbai, this month is full of music. Here are your upcoming events for the week. Here are your upcoming events for the week. If you can make it to Jodhpur, Rajasthan from March 18th to the 20th, then you must go to the Flamenco and Gypsy Festival. It's an annual highlight for us. If you're in Mumbai from March 11th to the 13th, then don't miss Artie's Festival. The event brings classical composers to a contemporary audience. Delhi, don't miss the World Percussion Festival from March 5th to the 6th in Chanakyapuri. It'll be an event full of rhythm, beat, and verve. The International Yoga Festival takes place in Rishikesh from March 1st to the 7th. If you're in Delhi, do not miss the Jamini Roy show that is currently on at Dhoomimal Gallery in Connaught Place. The show is only on till March 10th, and I cannot stress it enough how spectacular this show is. It includes 80 works from Jamini Roy, including some sketches that we've never seen before. The show is curated by art critic and columnist Uma Nair and is only on until March 10th. Go visit Carved Contours, Paintings and Drawings by Jamini Roy at Dhoomimal Gallery. Shilpa Gupta is an artist who draws metaphors from boundaries and surfaces contradictions in the everyday. Here, she tells us about the way she challenges truths in the lines we draw.
My name is Shilpa Gupta. I work with images, sound, video, things that we see around ourselves, objects from everyday life. I'm interested in perception and the way people look at things and define them and then work around these definitions.
Shilpa Gupta is a Mumbai-based artist whose recent artwork has explored the ways that international borders are simply constructs and often full of contradiction. But this isn't quite the history or geography lesson you might expect. Through objects and interviews, she weaves metaphors of the ways that state lines are much younger than the culture that exists on either side.
Borders are part of a larger construct, which is a borderland. And that while at one hand they construct the nation, at the same time they also subvert the nation.
Shilpa Gupta's artwork is on display at Vadera Art Gallery in New Delhi. It's the first time these works have been presented in India.
I'm interested in everyday life, so if you look at the body of work and if you walk through it, the stories, I've collected stories which people have narrated over interviews, over things that have been said, things that haven't been said, things that have been recorded or things that stay unrecorded. So one is not as if projecting a opinion, but one is looking as a bystander and allowing life and allowing things which go by to inform you something about themselves.
Throughout the exhibition are displays where materials from the India-Bangladesh border are reimagined to represent the fuzzy reality of the division.
There's a kind of knowledge, a kind of history, a kind of affiliation we are comfortable with, but then there exists a lot of things that fall outside of it. So one is sort of bringing the things which are probably eliminated or not looked upon or one is not comfortable with to sort of slip into these spaces. And what you have inside is, say, a Dhakai sari which has been shredded, or you have bone china that has been crushed, or you have fog which is sort of disembodied. And why are they treated like this?
Within the confines of the gallery space, Shilpa Gupta's art demonstrates the way that life here is often spent dancing on the knife edge of the familiar and the foreign. Coming up on Art is a dance performance and more. But first, we'll take a quick break. Stick around. Welcome back to On Art. Each episode, we hear from Mojarto man Rachel Charles, who helps us make sense of the art world and the way it's growing online. Charles, what's hot on Mojarto this week?
A day seems too less to celebrate, appreciate and recognize women for all their achievements and day-to-day contribution to society. But then, on the other 364 days, they only make us appreciate them more by simply being who they are and, many a time, creating great art. Hi Anu, so Rahul's got somebody really special with him this time. It's got to do with Women's Day and all women artists, and you know what, I want to just sort of go and catch up with them and find out a bit more. Hi Rahul, good evening. Nice to see you all having a nice walk in spring. Just perfect weather to be out. Catch you doing this in June, I don't think it's going to be possible. But
Have you met Anjali Menon?
Good evening. Yes, good evening, ma'am. It seems that, not only is this the perfect weather to sort of walk around, but I believe Women's Day is coming up in March as well, and that's way before Holi. So, it's like, but, I believe there's something that, you feel quite passionately for this, and there's something you've done for us, I believe Rahul was telling me about, that, you're going to be putting up on Mojarto.
So Anjali D has actually recommended upcoming and senior sort of promising women artists of the country. Although I would agree that there's nothing like a woman artist or a man artist. It's a good artist or a bad artist. That's about it, right? And I think it's a fantastic collection on Mojarto right now.
Just a bit about maybe some of the artists on as part of this curation.
Well, I started with Naina Konodia, who actually was a student of mine once upon a time. And she does naive art, which are very, very humorous. They're wonderful situations, like she'll have the barber sitting outside, she'll have balloons and people selling stuff.
Very colourful.
Very colourful, and that is delightful work. That would not upset anybody in any way. Then we have somebody called Vimmi Indra, who's done a beautiful series called Imagined Cityscapes. So these are cityscapes but seen through the dream. And I think dream is very important in painting or in any creative activity. The dream is as real as the reality for an artist, because that's where our source material is. Right. Then you have somebody much more established and famous like Arpana Kaur, who is one of our most feminist artists. She has very feminist concerns which she expresses in a very strong voice. We have Jayashree Barman, who is extremely well known and whose very dense and peopled paintings bring delight to people's hearts. So there are people at all ends of the spectrum.
Tell me, Anjali D, do you think women artists are better than men artists, or this comparison itself is futile?
She just said 2 minutes back that you won't call Husn an artist, right? So I mean, you're
artists that are ladies.
At present, I would say there are many women who really excel, and I have chosen. I have to say at the very beginning that this is not by any means a comprehensive list. I had recommended some others who were not able to take part, and this is just a very random picking, a random choice of women artists. Since I was limited to women artists, I couldn't mention many of the men who are also currently very important and very good.
Thank you so much. And I have learned one thing today for sure, and that is that there is no man art, there is no woman's art. There might be a woman's day, but as Anjali ji put it, there is no man or woman, it's just art, good or bad, right? And if you do purchase it, you've got to look at it every day. Back to you.
You might not think that Japanese paper folding can be inspiration for dance, but choreographer Yuko Harada did just that and assembled quite a cast of characters in the process. Dance is woven into the fabric of India, and the country has proved a nurturing host for dozens of styles of the art, tracing back thousands of years. But has that historic relationship, now followed by Bollywood routines, cemented certain notions toward dance that a contemporary audience cannot shake off? Yuko Harada was about to find out when she brought her unapologetic, no-holds-barred experimental show, Fold to Unfold, to the Sri Ram Center in New Delhi. Yuko is optimistic at the scope for contemporary dance, even with an uninitiated audience. Funded by the Japan Foundation, Yuko brought in a team of international and Indian artists to collaborate on the project. But what is it like to tell a very personal story with artists who have such distinct identities? The production drew inspiration from origami, or Japanese paper folding. As such, the style was incorporated throughout the performance. Yuko Harada teamed up with origami artist Himanshu Kohli to conceptualize the show and create the set. Turns out, this powerful effort to blend cultures, as well as the traditional with the contemporary, offered an evening to remember. Thanks for watching On Art. Go get inspired. See you next week. Good night.